Sinners 2025. Sinners is a 2025 supernatural gothic horror film directed, written, and produced by Ryan Coogler. It stars Michael B. Jordan, Delroy Lindo, Jack O'Connell, Jamie Lawson, Wunmi Mosaku, Omar Benson Miller, Haley Steinfeld, Lola Kirk, and Christian Robinson. Plot. In 1932, the film opens with a pastor preaching in a church as a bleeding boy enters. The pastor greets him and takes the boy's broken guitar and asks him to repent. Identical twins and World War I veterans Elijah, Smoke, and Elias, Stack, Moore return to the Mississippi Delta after years working for the mob in Chicago. With money stolen from gangsters, they buy a sawmill from racist landowner Hogwood to open a blues club for the local black community. The scene is quite tense, with the white man threatening the brothers for the first time, but they respond by also showing their weapons. It was very obvious that the landowner didn't want to sell to them because of their color, but he couldn't back down now that he had the money in front of him. But upon leaving, he meets with others and tells them to prepare a surprise. They'll go on opening night and kill them. No one will question anything, and he'll be able to recover the land. Their younger cousin, Sammy, an aspiring guitarist, joins them despite the opposition of his father, the minister, who warns them that the blues is supernatural. The twins recruit more staff, pianist Delta Slim and singer Pearline, with whom Sammy falls in love, Smoke's estranged wife, Annie, as a cook, local Chinese merchants Grace and Bo as suppliers, and field worker Cornbread as a porter. At the Chinese store, Smoke asks a girl to watch his truck while he goes in to negotiate with the Chinese. The girl honks the horn and Smoke comes out and catches two robbers. They recognize Smoke. It turns out that the brothers' reputation for being troublemakers and violent was well known. Smoke tells the robbers that now he will have to hurt them, that there was no other option, because if he doesn't, they will go around saying that they tried to rob him and got away with it, so he wounds them with the gun he was carrying. Meanwhile, Stack reunites with his ex-girlfriend, Mary, who is passing as white. Mary resents that Stack abandoned her when she left for Chicago. The brothers practically grew up with Mary, they were like siblings. This led to Stack falling in love with Mary. She experienced all the pleasures of being a woman with Stack. The wonders Stack presented dazzled her, and this bonded them forever. Despite Mary's marriage, she longed to be with Stack. When she was in front of him, she would vent all her frustration by insulting him. But when a woman insults him, it's a sign that there was a long time between them. Smoke and Annie argue over her belief in the occult, as Annie insists that her practices kept the twins safe, but Smoke bitterly reminds her that her baby daughter died anyway. They later reunite and have sex. Something curious is that the community managed its own money, something that obviously had no value. The marginalization was to such a degree that they didn't have dollars, and among them they had their own currency, but it doesn't describe what gave that currency value. Elsewhere, Choctaw hunters chase a man, who is all burned at dusk. He sneaks into the house of a young couple and tells them that some Indians are chasing him to kill him. He takes advantage of the couple's racist beliefs and they hide them. The hunters arrive at the house and demand that the man be handed over to them. The woman denies everything. The hunters notice that the sun is about to set, so they say goodbye to the woman and tell her that for her sake they hope he's not really in there. The woman enters the house and only sees her husband bleeding. The stranger ends up biting the woman as well. On the bar's opening night, Sammy's music is transcendental, unwittingly summoning spirits from the past and future to join the enthralled crowd. That night, Sammy manages to sweep Pearline off her feet and performs oral sex on her, so that Pearline didn't know if she was living or dying. Despite being married, she enjoyed that sex like there was no tomorrow, or maybe that made her enjoy it even more, who knows. Pearline was beautiful and had a body that incited you to sin. The musical number she performed, with that voice and those dances, is a true delight. You can't help but be aroused by your eyes, ears, and maybe something else. The performance catches the attention of Remick, who arrives with his henchmen, offering money and music for admission. The twins ask Remick to prove he knows how to play his musical instrument. Remick plays, sings, and dances to Irish music. This causes a bit of laughter among the bartenders, as it's a very different kind of music from theirs, but music is music, and they realize that Remick does know about music. One thing that can be observed is that the opening was a success, but unfortunately, the people didn't have any money. Doing the math, the twins would be bankrupt in a week. They needed dollars, but only white people had them, and they would never go to that bar again. The vampires retreat. Reminding the twins that the bar needs the revenue, Mary meets Remick outside, but is transformed. She returns inside, where she seduces Stack and bites him. Smoke shoots her, but she escapes unharmed by the regular bullets. Cornbread is attacked by Remick and also transformed. As the bar empties, the vampires attack and transform the departing customers, including Bo. Stack is revived as a vampire, but Annie repels him with pickled garlic juice. She explains to the survivors that only silver or wooden stakes can kill vampires, and that they may not enter a building unless invited. Remick, now leading a vampire horde, negotiates. He praises Sammy's supernatural talent and claims that vampirism offers immortality, freedom, and escape from racism. In return, he wants to use Sammy's abilities to summon the spirits of their lost community. Remick also warns that Hogwood, who secretly leads the local clan, plans to attack them at dawn. When the survivors reject his offer, Remick and Bo confront Grace, threatening to attack her daughter. Grace, desperate, challenges the horde to attack the bar, inviting them inside. I have to say, this doesn't strike me as the act of an empowered woman at all. On the contrary, it seems to me the stupidest act I've ever seen in cinema. There was no hope they could win, Smoke told him so. It was one thing for him to be a brave soldier and quite another for him to be a brave fool. They couldn't win. Even if they won, they wouldn't be able to get there in time to save their daughter, in case Remick made good on his threat. On the other hand, Remick only cared about Sammy. Chances were they wouldn't send anyone into town. He needed everyone there to get in and catch Sammy. In the ensuing battle, Grace, Annie, and Delta Slim are killed. Mary, devastated by Annie's death, flees the bar. Smoke, Sammy, and Pearline attempt to escape, but Remick and Stack ambush them. Smoke and Stack engage in a brutal fight, while Sammy and Pearline confront Remick. Pearline is bitten and begs Sammy to flee. He attempts to escape by car, but Remick stops him. In a final confrontation, Sammy smashes Remick's guitar over his head, before Smoke arrives just in time to kill him with a stake. At dawn, the vampire horde bursts into flames. After urging Sammy to flee, Smoke kills Hogwood and the clan, but is himself mortally wounded. There's a great battle here. Hogwood arrived with many white clan members to massacre the African Americans, but Smoke had many weapons and met them with heavy lead. The battle was fierce, but Smoke emerged victorious. Before Smoke dies, he sees a vision of Annie and her daughter. Sammy, battered and distraught, returns to his father's church. His father begs him to renounce music and seek salvation. Sammy refuses and leaves with his guitar in his hand. This seemed more like rebellion than anything, but the intention is clear. Sammy is pursuing his dream. 60 years later, Stack and Mary visit an elderly Sammy, now a celebrated blues musician in Chicago. Stack reveals that Smoke forgave him that night at the bar, allowing him to go free on the condition that Sammy live in peace. The pair offer him a chance at immortality, but Sammy declines. Stack asks Sammy to play a song, and Sammy agrees. Afterward, he tells them that although that fateful night still haunts him, until the sun set, it was the best day of his life. Stack agrees, noting that it was the last time he saw Smoke, the last time he saw the sun, and the only time he ever felt truly free. Comments. Sinners has a good theme, the social problems of the African American community in the United States. A good analogy in a vampire story. This is analogy and criticism, unlike some movie about guns without guns. Everyone here seeks their freedom, it's something they don't have, even though the laws might protect them. They are still persecuted, discriminated against, marginalized, or hunted. Sammy was oppressed by his father because he only wanted to make music, but he loved music, above all. So he ran away in the end, having his freedom. This may be debatable. His own cousin Smoke told him that he would shoot him if he saw him making music again. They introduced him to a failed musician and he still wanted to make music, but what can you expect from a boy who hasn't lived? On the other hand, experienced people know what that means. In the end, Sammy triumphed, apparently. Who knows? We only see a fragment that is very ambiguous. But someone told me, always have another job while you do what you love. It's like plan B, because things never turn out the way you plan or think them. There will be some who say they are successful doing what they love, but that's not the case for most. That's life, it hits you and doesn't always spare you, but you have to know how to live it, having a plan B. Remick found his freedom in vampirism. He left Ireland because he wasn't happy, he was oppressed, and he came to the land of freedom, but he didn't find it. Despite being white, he was singled out and discriminated against. Being white didn't mean he could be free from all of this. He was still discriminated against for being Irish, and as a vampire, he felt free. That's why he was sincere when he told the twins that he knew how they felt, that oppression, that feeling of knowing you can succeed because you're capable, but at the same time, you can't because you live in a system that prevents you from progressing. Despite having the means and the ability, you were immersed in misery. He offered them freedom through his community, vampirism. Mary and Stack were not free to love each other, they had the eyes of society on them for having an interracial relationship. Mary did not care, but Stack did, because he knew that when they were together Mary would care because she would suffer everything he suffers. That is why he walked away, and in the end they found freedom in vampirism too. Finally, Smoke and Annie were also looking for that freedom, that pain that oppressed them. Losing their daughter did not let them live happily. They found their freedom in the afterlife. They had to transcend to meet their daughter and be free at last, far from systemic oppression. Reception. The film debuted with $48 million, surpassing projections to finish first at the box office and surpassing Warner Bros.' holdover film, a Minecraft movie. The opening marked the best start for an original film since Jordan Peele's US $71 million in 2019, and the first time a studio had two films gross more than $40 million each in a single weekend since 2009. Critic. On the review aggregation website Rotten Tomatoes, 97% of the 373 critics' reviews are positive. The website's consensus reads, "A vibrant fusion of masterful visual storytelling and toe-tapping music, writer-director Ryan Coogler's first original blockbuster reveals the full scope of his singular imagination." Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 84 out of 100, based on 55 critics, indicating universal acclaim. Audiences surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A, on an A+ to F scale, the highest grade for a horror film in 35 years, while those surveyed by PostTrack gave it an overall positive score of 92%, with 84% saying they would definitely recommend the film. Critics praised Coogler's vision and the film's cinematography. Rolling Stone critic A.A. Dowd commented that the director stretched and transcended franchise boundaries, while The Observer's Wendy Ide wrote that Coogler's confidence and vision underpin it all. The Washington Post's and Hornaday highlighted Coogler's impressive self-awareness, as well as the performances of Jordan, Mosaku, and Katone. Several critics suggested that the film's more realistic first half was superior to the supernatural-driven later acts. Peter Travers of ABC News declared Sinners the best film released to date in 2025, writing that it was Coogler and Jordan's best and boldest work to date. In a more negative review, Zachary Barnes of the Wall Street Journal praised Jordan's performance but wrote that Sinners failed to unify thematically, arguing that Mr. Coogler's imagination remains limited by the conventions of the Wonderland. Sho Baraka of Christianity Today notes, "Be warned, bawdy themes will instruct you in practices that would make your marriage counselor blush." Sinners speaks frankly about the bloodthirsty perversion of religion in America. But the same plantation people who suffered the hypocrisy knew a joy-giving healer, who spawned spirituals, which in turn gave rise to the blues. Several critics compared the film to Robert Rodriguez's 1996 action horror film From Dusk Till Dawn. Kugler cited From Dusk Till Dawn as an inspiration for the film, but compared it more to The Faculty, another Rodriguez film. Music. The music for Sinners was widely praised by critics, who highlighted its centrality to the film's story. Barnes of the Wall Street Journal called Göransson's score a vibrant marvel of genre-crossing interpolation. It said that many celebrities praised the film, but that doesn't impact me. I'm more impacted by the specialized critics and ordinary fans. Among the celebrities who praised the film is Jamie Lee Curtis, but what can you expect from her? She also praised a French film whose name I can't remember, and it was a complete mess. Great art makes you reflect and want to dig deeper and learn more about what you've been shown. The intricacies and details of filmmaking in every decision, from story and plot to visual effects and music, stay with you long after you've seen it. That's all from me, goodbye.